I feel like he really took off after Saturday Night Fever. Was that the movie?
Yeah, he did, but then there was just like this long decade or so he wasn't doing anything, man. I don't remember which movie maybe it was Pulp Fiction.
I was about to say maybe it was Pulp Fiction, yeah.
I think it was Pulp Fiction, because at least that's the first one. Because I remember when he came back and was in that movie, I was like, damn.
Yeah, because once he
did John Travolta, and I was like, he's a really good actor. And then all 6 started getting these.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was like he did Grease. He did Saturday Night Fever, and then it was like he was no longer the sexy dancing guy. It's like you got to kind of act now, John. So I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm a big movie guy, movie buff. So I feel like Quentin Tarantino's movies are some of the best out there. And the fact that John Travolta, absolutely, I can't imagine anybody else playing Vincent Vega, I think was his name.
Yeah. He was perfect for that.
Yeah. I mean, he was outstanding.
Yeah.
So.
And then, Bruce Willis having that fighter. And the cast was perfect.
Well, what Bruce Willis had was action. Like he did like John Travolta really didn't do like action movies. You know what I mean? Like Die Hard and shit like that. All those action movies he was doing. So, but now John Travolta, his career is kind of like, well, they're both of their careers kind of dwindled, but all right, let's get into it. So we are going to continue on the discussion with addiction. We talked about obsession. We talked about all different kinds of addictions. And now we are moving into, all right, we're going to stay on obsession for a little bit. So question, when you are obsessed with something, what's it like when you are obsessed with something?
It pretty much takes over all your thinking. You can't think or concentrate on anything else. That's the one thing your focus depends on that.
You're right. Now, we have a finite amount of time. Your average human being spends about 80 years on this planet. And in that finite amount of time, we have this precious thing called attention and focus. And what you're describing is powerlessness over focusing on something. So when I am obsessed with something, I have no control over how much I can't focus on anything else. Now, literally, it is impossible to focus on anything else. But the problem is like removing like you can only focus on one thing at a time, but it's a skill and an ability to be able to focus on one thing at a time, right? Like I actually pride myself in that ability. Like, yeah, I don't answer my phone all the time. I'm I am the guy who will text you back hours later, days later. But the reason I do that is because I'm giving my full attention and focus on the things that I am doing. You know what I mean? So sorry, I'm with my family. I'm just like fully dedicated with my children and things like that. I'm fully dedicated to use guys in group. I'm not saying, oh, give me 1 second. I got to take this phone call and jumping out of group. I schedule my life around not allowing myself to become obsessed over things that I'm powerless over becoming obsessed over. Like I know that when my phone rings or I get a text message, I can't help but look at it and figure it out. So I fucking put it in a way that I silence it. You know what I mean? Things like that. Is obsessing over something a bad thing?
I think it is. I mean, even if you're it's a good thing. It's not. I don't think it's healthy to be that one thing be possess all of your focus and attention. It's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's other things that are important as well that you may need to be focused on as well. So, say for instance, do recovery for. I mean, dedicated is one thing. Obsessed with it is a totally different mindset.
So, all right, that's a great thing. Anybody else? Do you guys have an opinion, comments, concerns, questions, anything?
I agree. Like a lot of people, especially women, they're obsessed with their kids, but they lack self-care or, work-life balance and things because they're obsessed with their kids, which is a good thing. Kids are great. You love your kids. So, like I agree. To some degree, it's not healthy.
Okay. So, and do you agree with the word dedication? Like being dedicated?
Dedicated is health. Obsessive is not health.
To devote to a particular task or purpose. So it would be like it says, I was about to say this, devoting time, effort, or myself. So I guess that is how I feel. When I'm in a moment, I'm devoting myself to the present moment. I'm giving all my time, my effort, and me to what is currently here. I'm not allowing myself to be removed by my time, my effort, or me to be removed from the present moment. The obsession, it sounds like this is what we're coming to as a group right now. The obsession takes us away from our devotion or our dedication, is what it sounds like, right? So it sounds like our obsession over alcohol has the ability to remove me from being dedicated to my family, my children, my career, my health, my reputation, et cetera, right?
Right.
Okay, all right. Now, so if that is I like that we kind of got to this and are understanding this and breaking it down. When you are obsessed over something, does your thinking follow a pattern?
It does. I think in the terms of your thinking pattern is you justify that obsession. You'll twist and warp your thinking to justify that obsession. Like, why you are obsessed is okay because of X, Y, Z. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what can you give me an example?
Well, if you're obsessing about something, you'll make excuses up for other things that you should be devotedly dedicate yourself to justify that obsession. You'll make excuses all the time to relieve that obsession. If that's
Yeah.
not
Well,
possible, come on. Yeah.
make excuses to fulfill that obsession almost.
Correct. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
So, for instance, I'm going to use the phone as an example, right? I would make an excuse to remove myself to use my cell phone.
Right.
I would make up like I'm dedicated to you guys. So I would generate an excuse to absence myself, my time, my effort from being here in this moment. And I mean, go back to our addiction list, right? Let's say now, what are we dedicated to? These are things to consider, right? What do you value? Just shout out some things that you value. Family, health, career, religion, fun, relaxation. I mean, value life. You know what I mean? You can value a lot of things. Family's at the top of that. Career. Most of the time, I hear family at the top of this, career at the top of this, et cetera, et cetera. What was it?
Did you say health?
Health. Yep. Now, let's say that I would say is what we are dedicated to, right? I'm dedicated to my family. I'm dedicated to my health, for instance. But you know what happens? I become really obsessed with pizza in Reese cups. I don't know what it is. I get really obsessed, bro. You know what I mean? I just get so obsessed over it, and I'll wake up and I'll be like, bro, I got 2 pounds of chicken breast in my fridge. I'm gonna make that for dinner. This is what we're eating today. And as the day goes on, I start battling the idea of ordering out. And I'm like, bro, I'm just gonna get a pizza. No, I can't get a pizza. That's not gonna work. I can't. I gotta stay committed and blah 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 blah. And I say this all, and then somehow at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what, man? Like maybe I could get pizza, but I'll just have like 1 slice. Going back to the excuses, it's just 1 slice. It's no big deal. I'm not eating the whole pizza. Yada yada yada. But you know what ends up happening? And then I get home and I say to my girl, hey, we got that chicken. I'll even talk it. I'll even deliver it in a certain way. I'll be like, yeah, we have like that chicken breast that we could turn into like whatever. Or we could get pizza. Even in the way that I'm presenting it and delivering it, anyone would want the second option. You know what I mean? Doesn't you want like filet mignon with like mashed, or do you want Reese cups and ice cream? It's like, fuck, dude, that second one sounds dope. Even though the first one was filet mignon. You know what I mean? So then what ends up happening? And why am I obsessed over this? Why would one, I'll keep myself out of this. Why would one be obsessed over pizza? Well, first off, just look at the compound. Look at it. Just look at it. What is pizza? It's a giant flat piece of bread is what it is. You know what I mean? With sauce and cheese. Let's take a look at the macronutrients of a slice of pizza real quick. Domino's pizza.
They say that pizza is actually one of the healthier junk.
It's got all the things. It's got the protein. It's got all that stuff. Dairy, So let's go with the nutritional guide of Domino's pizza. Does it just build your own pizza? A hand tossed pizza, 800 calories from fat, saturated fat, trans fat, sodium. Look at that sodium, 930, 139 grams of carbohydrates. Right now, you take 139 grams or whatever of carbohydrates. How does that break? Does anybody know how carbohydrates break down into the body? What does that break down to? Sugar. So maybe, just consider this. Maybe me wanting pizza at the end of the day is a sugar addiction, not a whatever addiction. You see what I'm saying? You following this? It's like when you get down to the nitty gritty of some of these addictions, it's like it would make sense. Like people don't know that they're addicted to these things, but when you actually look at the compound, the structure of them, it's designed in a way that gets you. Look at alcohol, bro. You know how alcohol is designed in a way that you have to keep drinking it. You have to. You know what I mean? It's not like other drugs like LSD where you can just take one hit and you're just chilling for 8 hours, dog. You know what I mean? If you want to be chilling on the buzz that you got off 5 drinks all day, you need to drink 5 drinks every hour, dude. And why is it like that? So you buy more. Why do you think they cut cocaine? So you can get more money out of it and the user keeps coming back. So what are they doing? They're cutting these drinks with alcohol. Why? So people come back. And what happens when they go back to buy this alcohol? Sometimes maybe there's just like a cop chilling there waiting for you to go into the bar to drink. And they're like, this motherfucker's going to drive out and we're going to pull him over. And they just wait because they don't have anything better to do. You know what I mean? And they just pull you over. Same thing with like cops and drug dealers. Like if you're going to cop drugs, chances are a cop fucking is aware of that, dude. You know, they have nothing to do other than try to figure out crime. And here we are committing crime on a day-to-day basis, you know? And we are obsessing. What happens is we obsess over ways to avoid these negative outcomes and keep using. And it's like, dude, that's going to cause problems. You see what I'm saying? Like that is a instead of obsessing over how to keep drugs and alcohol out of our lives for the past who knows how long, we've been obsessing over how can I keep this in my life? Why are people trying to take me away from this? This is bullshit. And we've worked very hard on managing and trying to keep this feeling in our life. And this feeling is killing us and destroying us and manipulating our brain into thinking about it so much that we crave and yearn for it. And that's the way they want it. And who is they, right? I'm saying, stay away from they. That's how people, let's just call it people who own Anheuser whatever Bush, right? Let's see who's this fucking guy. Anybody know the name of that guy?
I thought that
Who owns
they were sold to China.
and
China. I don't know.
how do you spell that? Anheuser Busch. AB InBev. Who owns AB InBev? CEO. Michael Dukeris. This guy, all right, this guy wants you to drink alcohol so that he can afford his, I don't know, airplane. What's this guy's net worth?
Oh, shoot.
Let's see. The net worth. This guy is worth, that website's probably not right. I mean, the Anheuser-Busch itself is worth $126 billion as of a week ago. You know what I'm saying?
Look up UPS's net worth. I'm just curious what they are.
UPS?
UPS. That's what I work for them.
The mailing company?
The package company, UPS. You know what a course service? Sure.
130. So UPS is like making a little bit more than Bush.
That for a year, though?
That number is from yesterday.
And is that their total net worth?
Yeah, that's their entire net worth.
Man, just in our 747s, they're spending $500 million on them. They got 38 of them brand new.
Bro,
so that's 19 million right there.
Listen. So you just consider this, okay? And I'm not going down a fucking rabbit hole right now. All of this shit is relative, okay? Dude, you look at the military so just consider like Anheuser-Busch wants you to keep drinking alcohol. UPS wants you to use their service to send packages. You know what I mean? So they're going to put out commercials and this and that. The military industrial complex, dude, do you know how much a fucking missile costs? One missile? Millions of dollars? Let's see. How much does a missile cost? $75 million to $118 million per missile. That's just the missile.
Yeah.
Now look at how much you think the motherfucking thing shooting the missile costs. So now you got these people, and you imagine all the companies that go into making one missile. You got the metal company, I don't even know, the technology company, all these companies that are American ran companies, because this is the biggest American ran like industry that we have, which is our military. Spending all this money, dude. Look at like a ship. Like, you could stand in a room in a ship, take like one little area of the wall. That shit's like $10 million, let alone the missiles and everything else. Bro, they want war.
Oh, yeah. So
The same way they want you to drink the booze, send the packages, they want you to support the war. Bro. So now, here we are, obsessing. Like, you know what the nicotine companies want you to do? The cigarette companies, they want you to be sitting there on Christmas morning and smoking a cigarette, watching your kids open fucking presents. Anheuser-Busch, Coca-Cola has open discussions on how to acquire stomach share, is what they call it. It's called stomach share. They talk about how can we occupy 100% of the stomach of the American consumer. So they try to figure, and keep in mind, what are Coke products? Are Coke products just
sugar?
Are Coke products just soda? Let's look at some of the top conglomerates.
What do you mean other things they are invested in?
That's what I mean. Things they're invested in. Look at this picture.
Oh, GE's huge.
Oh, can you see that?
Yeah, you pull up some good stuff.
So Coca-Cola is in your hair, Glass U, their vitamin water, Smart Water.
They did the Sonic. I didn't know that.
All these drinks, dude. All these drinks they make, right? And there's also a hair product in there. I think that's what Glass U is. I think that's a hair product, right?
No, it's water.
It's water?
Yeah.
Okay. And then and then these are the top. Then you got Nestle, you got PepsiCo, GE, right? Mars. I bet you could do this same thing. Now, this is like foods, I think. This is all foods. Yep.
Look at that.
You could probably. What's that?
What about 3M? I mean, they got a big.
Well, that's what I was about to say. You could probably do the same thing with medical products, with pharmaceutical companies. You could do the same thing with all these, with like Johnson and Johnson and shit like that. You know what I mean? So the point I'm trying to make is they want you obsessing over these products. The culture we live in is designed in a way that you must consume the media these companies are pushing on you. You know what I mean? And the real power comes from making the right decision for you and your family and your health and everything like that, regardless of the obsession you may have. So even though I'm obsessing over pizza and I want Domino's and things like that, I practice some form of recovery that allows me to make the right decision, which is to eat normal, natural food. You see what I'm saying? And what happens is we get so, it's not even, we get so distracted by all of these distractions that we impulsively act without considering consequences. And these decisions add up. Like I remember being a kid eating a whole large pizza by myself from Domino's, not thinking about how this is impacting my health, impacting my body, what's this doing to my mind, et cetera, et cetera. And as a result of not like, and it's not my problem. It's just I was a young kid. I have no understanding, no knowledge. And meanwhile, I'm impulsively acting on an obsession and setting myself up for having more problems. You see what I'm saying? And it's not just me doing that with alcohol. It's me, I mean, with Domino's, I would do that with alcohol. I would do that with drugs. You know, I could do that with attention or sex-seeking behavior or attention-seeking behavior or, you know, a medication to solve my problems, et cetera, et cetera. Not saying that some problems aren't going to be solved with medication and this and that, but for me, what I believe is those are last resorts. Like I should be able to solve this problem without the aid of something else. Now, if I can't, then I need help. And that is what everyone has found themselves here with drugs and alcohol. Like if you could have fixed it, you would have fixed it. But since were unable to get the results you wanted, we found ourselves here because I can't not act on the obsession to use or drink. That's what ends us up here. And because we are so fixated on our feelings, right? Like that's what happens. We become, I want this. I want it. That's what I want. Self-centered type of behavior, self-centered thinking. We become so obsessed over whatever it is that it takes us away from what we value. So say you value family or your career or your health, this obsession that we have and the acting upon solving it through the use of it takes us away from other people. And how does that affect our lives, right? We're missing time getting healthy. We're missing time focusing on our health. We're missing time focusing on our family, missing time focusing on our career. Instead of putting our effort towards furthering our career or effort towards making our families' lives better or our own lives better through our health, we're so self-centered on feeling a certain feeling or whatever the case may be that, or so pretty much fixated on an obsession that it takes us away from spending precious time and energy on the things that we value the most in life. And I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, but what I am saying is that when you're on your deathbed, what do you want to look at your life having had been? And let me show you what your average American person's life looks like when they look back on it. Here we go. We spend our life in years. Most of it is sleeping. So you can see that 38% of our time is going to be spent sleeping. Also, another 10% is going to be spent trying to fall asleep. Then we're going to be at work for 20% of our life. Then maybe we end up doing other work that was unanticipated for another portion. Then social media for 4%, watching TV. Like when you are on your deathbed, most people look back on their life and see a collective 8.3 years spent just sitting there like this, watching TV, right? And it's like, how then there's, I mean, it says eating, holidays, whatever the hell that means, exercising right now. This is just an estimate. There's other things in here that they didn't put in here, like commuting, going to the restroom, completing chores, etc., etc. All of that takes time. You know what else takes?
Did that say socializing 1%?
Yeah, I mean, dude,
That seems like that's not right.
that. So yeah, you're right. I agree with you. That graph was not a good one. There's better ones out there. I just couldn't find it as fast as I could. But those numbers are off to a degree, you know, but go ahead, do your own research. You're going to see very similar graphs. I mean, those numbers, although they're not accurate, I mean, they're not far off. You know what I'm saying? So, although socializing probably way more, when you go to your other graph, another graph you may find, you may see them considering other things that you weren't considering. Like I said, chores, hygiene, showering, commuting to places, you know, that's not even on there either. But we can all pretty much agree that a third of our life is sleeping. You know, if you're doing a career, most people spend, you know, a large portion, 10 years of their life at a career if they work there for 30 years, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like looking back on that time, do I want to look back and say, fuck? I mean, just consider someone who blacks out every night. When they look back on their life, they won't remember half of it. Someone who blacks out every night, like a person who uses Xanax and drinks, they fucking black out, yo. You're not remembering much. Don't take much for that memory to start kicking, you know? And if you do that for a year, you're looking at it, you start using at like, I don't know, 6 p.m. and you pass out by 4 p.m. and you do that every single night, that's, I'm going to use my phone real quick. Let's do that math. That's 4 hours times 365. That's 1,460 hours divided by 24. 60 days of your entire one past year. Blackout. Don't remember a fucking thing. Have no idea what happened. That's 1 year. And you could do this math, not only with the actual time that we've spent using and drinking and whatever the case may be, but the times that we've also obsessed over it. Because you got to remember, if I'm not under the influence, focus on the getting, using, finding ways and means to get more, I'm still thinking about it, which would make me present in the moment of whatever I'm dedicated to, but mentally somewhere else. And just because you get sober doesn't mean that stops. So a lot of people find themselves obsessing in recovery. And the same way that you began obsessing over recovery, maybe you were exposed to something, a commercial, a memory, your senses, you saw something, you smelled something, you heard something that caused you to have a obsession or a desire to use. Perhaps there's recovery that can mitigate that. The same way that something caused that, there may be something that can heal that. You know, just maybe. Now, how has our disease, I mean, you can imagine how our disease affects us physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I don't need to go into that. Our addiction can manifest itself in a variety of ways. When we first come in, our problem will, of course, be drugs or alcohol. Later on, we may find that our addiction is wreaking havoc in our lives in a number of ways. How has your addiction been manifesting itself most recently?
This I mean, right now, like while we're in recovery or right up to
Today? Like, how do you, yeah, like today? Like, what do you find yourself obsessing? Like, do you find yourself just for today being obsessed over a person, place, or thing? While you've been in recovery, have you been obsessed over a person, place, or thing?
I've been obsessed
About
job,
your job?
about a job that I don't have that I need. So
So you've been obsessing over your job that you don't have? Is that what you said?
yeah, I need a job.
Okay. you've been obsessing over finding a job.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? What have you been obsessing over?
I've been obsessed with my legal issues, my court issues, and relationship issues that I know I have and hope and
Thank you. Anybody else?
So this is my first day here, and last night I ended up working until 3:00, 3:30 in the morning still, even though coming in here early, just because my focus was on work, not drinking. So I agreed with the work.
Okay. You've been obsessing over work a little bit too? All right. All right. Anybody else? How has this obsession gotten in the way of your, let's say, recovery?
got in the way of it.
Yeah. Does this obsession get in the way of your recovery at all? Has it?
It causes stress, and stress is a trigger.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Has this go ahead.
For me, I mean, but it's through recovery, I'm learning how to handle that stress in a positive way. So it's, yeah, it's getting in the way because at first I was dwelling on that more than what I was supposed to be doing. But gradually, as I'm going along and doing the right things, I have access to, try to take the edge off of something. After, it's helping me learn to handle these things that I was obsessing. I'm not obsessing much, I guess that's what I'm saying.
Right. Okay. Does the obsession, now this is kind of like more of a broad statement, not just like limited to today or your recovery. Has this obsession gotten in the way of any of your relationships?
I don't even have relationships.
You don't even have relationships? Has it gotten in the relationship with yourself at all?
Sure. I'm not happy.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Has it gotten in the way of any of your relationships?
I'm not present with my kids because I'm setting about things I can't control.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and it's like if I think to myself, like, if I can be obsessed over a job or work, and that takes me away from getting a good night's sleep, gets in the way of my relationship with my kids, or gets in the way of something like that, you know what I mean? And that's just a job. Like, consider an addiction, a physical and mental dependence on something, and how much that can take me away from the things that I value. You know what I mean? How much this alcohol has taken me away from all these things. And it's like, I mean, when you consider that, it makes the amount of stress, it makes the amount of resentment towards ourselves that we may feel almost rational. You know what I mean? It doesn't rationalize it, but it would make sense. Like, I don't know if I think anybody who lived my life and went through the things that I did would probably feel these feelings that I'm feeling towards myself. Like, that might be the natural instinctive state of mind that I would have. But it's about recognizing that that state of mind I have is not correct. Like there may be a better way of thinking about myself or my situation, and that can maybe be just more beneficial towards me and other people around myself. Like not allowing myself to get obsessed over these things. Because if I obsess over these things, it could affect me mentally. Mentally, I'm not able to focus on family or friends or recovery or whatever I should be focusing. Like that in which I must focus on is going to vary all the time. But if I'm unable to readjust my focus or not focus on something, then like mentally it's probably not good to think about these things so much. Like that's kind of anxiety that maybe is depression. You know what I mean? Like maybe anxiety is thinking too much about a negative future. Maybe depression is thinking too much about a negative past and obsessing over negativity, which it would in turn cause my standard level baseline belief system to say that everything's depressing, everything's fucking bad, everything's fucking wrong. And how might an obsession like everything's wrong, everything's bad, everything's fucking stupid, my fucking life is shit, how's that going to affect a relationship with a higher power? You know what I mean? Like maybe I start blaming God for my situation. Maybe because I run out of people in my life that I could cast blame onto, I start blaming fucking God. And I lose a relationship with a higher power. And I don't know whether there is one or isn't one, but the one that I have today would never put me in a position that I'm alone. I'm the one who ran away from that relationship, you know? I'm the one who fucking said, fuck you, God. How fucking dare you? That's fucked up, bro. Like me, I'm the person. You're gonna make me a fucking that's fucked up. Why me? Why me? Why did they have what they want? Why this? Why do I gotta fucking deal with all this shit? It's like God's probably looking at me like, bro, you think I did this? I fucking love you, dude. Like you're my fucking special person. Like I would never do that to you. You're the one who ran away. I'm the one who ran away from it. Did I do it on purpose? No. I don't have a moral deficiency. I have a fucking disease, dude, that causes me to engage in this type of behavior that sets me up for this decay. Physically deteriorating, emotionally unmanageable, volatile emotionally, ups and lows and lefts and rights and all this shit, right? And that is just the obsession. I mean, that you can just imagine the physical, the withdrawals and how that plays a role. That's just what might happen by obsessing over drugs and alcohol. And what happens is we get to a point where we were talking about this before. We begin making excuses, right? And these excuses are justifications, rationalizations, like reasons as to why we continue to engage in this behavior in which is decaying us. The denial runs thick. It is, our denial is us saying, I don't have a disease. I don't know what you're talking about. Excuses, they're just alibis. You know what an alibi is? It's an unreasonable reason for doing something. It's a plausible but untrue reason for doing something. You know what I mean? Why'd you fucking get drunk last night? because my team was playing. Oh, well, why did you get drunk the night before? Because they weren't. You know? Why'd you get like the reasons? Okay, but that, these reasons just become plausible, but I mean, not true. Like, you don't have to drink. Like, and then we begin getting unreasonable resentments towards these people and these unreasonable anger towards people. Maybe it's that person is ourself, becomes just a justification to drink. And why not just, and the answer like to fixing this is admitting by saying, yeah, you're right, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, you're right, I'm fucked up. Why don't we do that? Because if I do that, then it's going to be a fucking discussion and we're going to have to talk and you're going to start hiding your pocketbook and locking the door and doing all this crazy things. And I can't have you do that because I need to continue to get high. I need to keep this up. And those things are facilitating me getting high, whatever they are. When we are in denial, we are unable to see the reality of our addiction. We minimize its effect. We blame others, citing too high of expectations on family, friends, and employers. We compare ourselves with others whose addictions seem worse than our own. We may blame one particular drug. If we have been absent from drugs for some time, we might compare the current manifestation of our addiction with our drug use, rationalizing that nothing we do today could possibly be as bad as that was. One of the easiest ways we can tell that we are in denial is when we find ourselves giving plausible but untrue reasons for our behavior. Plausible? Yeah, maybe. Like, that would make sense. It's just not true. It's just, like that's not true. Like, bro, cigarettes cause cancer. Nah, dude. I ran track in high school, so I'm good. It's like, bro. Come on, man. You really believe that? Plausible, maybe it is, but it's just not true. There's just no science that would back that up. You follow what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, dude, well, if I don't have alcohol, I can't go to sleep. Plausible because you're an alcoholic, but that's just not true. You could probably get some good sleep if you decided to get sober and get the alcohol out of your system. But perhaps where we are today, there's a reason that we would believe that, And what is the reason that we would believe that? Perhaps it's withdrawal symptoms. Have I blamed other people for my behavior? Have you ever blamed someone else for your behavior?
Sure.
Punching a hole.
Like sometimes I drink, I'm like, you drink too, you went through what I went through, that kind of thing, just that blaming thing, like justifying why, like, it's no wonder I'm doing this, you do it too, if you want from what I went through kind of thing, or you pissed me off, so you made me drink, I can't handle what you're doing to me right now, those kind of things, you can always point the finger, say you have an excuse to justify why you're drinking or using it.
Yep. And when you point the finger, and then it becomes a comparison. And it's like, oh, yeah, that is way worse than your situation. So, like, that's just a way to get the heat off of me. You know what I mean? It's denying the reality of our addiction. Like, I had one guy, he goes, man, I fucking drink because of my sister. And I was like, damn, bro, what'd your sister do that made you drink? He's like, she fucked me over, blah, blah, blah. I was like, damn, bro. He's like, yeah, man. I was like, where is she today? He's like, she's been dead for 10 years. And it's like, holy fuck, bro. You've been drinking yourself to death, blaming a person who's not even here anymore. And it's like, that is a deep denial that you're responsible, not her. She's been dead for 10 years. She didn't pour the alcohol down your throat. You did. Well, They didn't do that. You did it. You removed yourself. You went and got it. We did this. Like, and through our inability to accept personal responsibility for these things, we're actually creating our own problems. Through our inability to accept personal responsibility for these things, we're actually creating our own problems. Because I'm unable to accept responsibility for the problems in my life, I cause more problems. When I compare my addiction to others, my addiction may not seem bad enough. But if you compare your addiction to your addiction, is it bad enough? Like when you don't compare I can compare my addiction to someone else and mine seems less than. But if I compare my addiction now to what it was a year ago, 2 years ago, holy shit, this is the worst it's ever been. It has never been as bad as it is today. Sometimes we may compare a current manifestation of our addiction to what life was before I got clean, thinking that we should have known better. We may think that we have enough information about addiction and recovery that, we may be in denial that there's more to learn. We may be in denial thinking that we know it all and that I have all the information I need. And another thing that we may be in denial about is of recovery itself. Some of us may deny not only our addiction, but how much recovery can help our addiction. Maybe in denial about how much treatment can help. Maybe in denial about how much therapy can help, how much, having a sponsor or going to these meetings can actually help you. Maybe in denial because it's not helping as much as a drink is. It long term will have more benefits. The immediate gratification of alcohol is always going to exceed the results that you get from something in recovery. But if you can just sit back and deal with your addiction and your obsession and remain in recovery, a better feeling follows from that than having had used. Generally, when people have a desire to use and they choose to use after committing themselves to recovery, it's followed by deep emotions of shame, guilt, resentment, fear. And when you have big emotions like that, it's going to take a big amount of something to change that. But generally, when people have that obsession and they choose to stay sober, they find themselves grateful for having made that decision after having committed themselves to recovery. If someone hasn't committed themselves to recovery and they stay sober, they're going to maybe look at that as a missed opportunity to get high. But if they're committing themselves to recovery, then maybe they wake up the next day and say, bro, thank God I didn't get fucking high last night. That would have been dumb. I would feel horrible, yada, yada, yada. And it's not just drugs and alcohol. You go back to that list of addiction. I feel that same way when I commit myself to eating healthy and I eat a Domino's pizza. You know what I mean? When I commit myself to doing the dishes and I just slump down on the couch. Now, sometimes it's probably better for me to just sit on the couch because I'm tired instead of doing the dishes. That's not going to hurt anybody. It's not going to be a major fucking problem. But we're not in rehab for not doing the dishes. We're in rehab for not staying sober. So that is the work that has to be worked upon here. And anybody can get sober, bro. Getting sober is the easy part. Being in recovery is the difficult part. Remaining open-minded, honest, willing, accepting, admitting powerlessness on a consistent basis. And that's where we are right now. Just admitting powerlessness over our addiction. And today we did a deep, major dive on that powerlessness. We haven't really gotten into powerlessness. We basically just talked about addiction today, the physical dependence, the mental dependence, withdrawals, obsession, all different types of addiction. We looked at addiction from all different angles. When I come back next week, we're going to get into, as a result, so what denial does is it pushes our bottom off. So what could have been the worst point my addiction has ever been is now the best it was compared to where it is now. So 3 years ago, perhaps we were confronted with the reality of our disease of addiction. And instead of fixing it then, we tried to control it on our own and denied the reality that we can't do that. And ultimately, it caused us to end up in a place like this, rock bottom, or wherever it was before we got here is generally rock bottom. So the denial pushes us into a place of reaching our bottom. When we come back next week, we're going to talk about how denial leads us to that rock bottom, share the rock bottom of despair and isolation, and then move into powerlessness of how it had to happen that way. That's the way it had to happen. If it was going to happen another way, if I was going to learn before, I probably would have learned before. And it sucks that it had to happen that way, but that's the way it did. And it's a mistake. You can forgive yourself perhaps for doing it that way or having your life go that way because of a disease, not because you chose it or had a moral fucking deficiency, because it's like cancer or heart disease, lifestyle related disease. So, are there any questions? Anybody have questions, comments, concerns, anything about what we've talked about today or where this class will be going for the next couple of weeks?
That was a good class. Got a lot out of listening.
Yeah, same.
Good. Yeah. First Steps, like my favorite, because it is way more than just drugs and alcohol. When you really get down into like when we were just into net worth and fucking, conglomerates in the military industrial complex. Like when you get down to that, you really start to figure out how much control you actually have. And that's really important in admitting powerlessness over your addiction. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed class today. Thank you so much. I will see you guys next Friday. Enjoy your weekend and take care.
Thank you.
See you later.